Okay, so I need to ask manga readers real quick about something. Was the Diane and Gowther fight a lot shorter than I imagined? Like, I could have swore that fight was a lot longer than what we got in this episode and at the end of last episode. I could be wrong. Like I said, it's been a while since I read this part of the manga, but I could have sworn it felt longer. Maybe it's just me, though. But anyways, let's talk about that reveal with Meliodas' sacred treasure. So, yeah, if you all don't remember, Meliodas, he didn't have a sacred treasure. And as we all know, a sacred treasure is a very big deal for the Sins, because it's like what King explained in the first season. Imagine a giant lake, and imagine their big pool of power. The lake is basically their strength. But without their sacred treasure, they might be only able to access maybe like a small fraction of that, like 1% of that entire lake. And so that's how important the sacred treasure is. And so with Meliodas gaining his sacred treasure, it's basically him finally getting the power up he needs and going back to his true potential, his real strength, because it's what King said a very long time ago. So it's not something that just came out of nowhere, and how Meliodas was able to take something down that strong. It's just the fact he never had his sacred treasure, and he finally got it back. So this lets us know that all of our Sins, they need to kind of start getting back their sacred treasures before they can be able to fight up against the upcoming threats that are coming after them. For instance, the Ten Commandments. Anyways, let's just talk about that, the abilities that Meliodas used. So, it's very apparent, if you look at the abilities, his weapon, Lost Vein, allows him to basically have clones of himself. And so, you saw how he was able to duplicate himself a little bit, and he was able to use full counter against the enemy's attacks with all of his different clones. That is incredibly powerful, because, I mean, just imagine what happened in the Hendrickson fight. You know, Meliodas using full counter and all that, just imagine if he would have had a bunch of his clones and stuff that can use multiple full counters at once. That would have been insane. So that just shows how important a sacred treasure really is in the grand scheme of things, and that Meliodas needed this to be able to compete with upcoming threats. So yeah, how do you all feel about that? I'm actually going to ask you anime onlys, how do you all feel about Meliodas' sacred treasure and his ability to, duplicate himself with it and use full counter as well alongside of that? I'm very curious. And also you have some Merlin set up too. Merlin basically has to give Meliodas something back besides the sacred treasure, so we're going to see where that's going to go in the future. But anyways, let's talk about the big point of discussion that many are going to be talking about, and that is the Gowther stuff. So Gowther, it is confirmed he is a doll. Now, it's been kind of in your face for a while, and at this point in time, when we got this revealed in the manga, many of us were speculating it, but we still didn't think he was a doll completely. There had to be more going on, and now it is proved to be true. He is, in fact, a doll, which would explain Gowther's mannerism, why he's acted like he has throughout the recent episodes, and also when he was introduced in Season 1, and also it would explain how he was able to survive being decapitated in Season 1. So, there you go. Here's your explanation, and it answers your questions pretty well, because he actually is a doll all along. And it would explain why he would want to know what emotions are, because he can't comprehend or understand emotions. He wants to know what love is, because, he's a doll. He doesn't know actually what emotions are, how to feel, and all of that. So, that's basically the big point you can pull from that. Now, there is more details, obviously, to Gowther's backstory, which is for later on down the road, and you won't probably find that out until probably Season 3. I'm just gonna be honest here, it's a lot of details about Gowther's backstory that just recently happened in the past, like 20 to 30 or so chapters ago, and so if you're looking forward to actually finding out more about, Gowther's past, you're probably not gonna get that this season, unless Studio A1 puts, pedal to the metal and rushes the content, which they have done in the past, so I wouldn't put it past them. But I mean, still, even then though, there is a lot of content for them to cover before they could ever get to explaining the Gowther stuff, so if you're looking forward to that, you're probably not going to get it. But even then though, it does bring up a lot of fascinating things about Gowther, and kind of who created him, for what purpose, and I mean, what's his actual limit now that we know a great mage apparently created him. That is the big thing we can pull from this episode. Now, leaving it there, there, though, let's also talk about whatever happened to Diane. It's apparent something's going on with Diane, because the way she said her head felt a little bit fuzzy or whatever in, you know, in the boar's hat. So something happened to her, and we don't know exactly what it may be. Anime onlys might be able to figure it out what probably is going on, but I'm not going to give hints or anything like that because of obvious spoiler reasons. But what's going on with Diane right now, it's going to probably lead into something very important for the upcoming Season 2. That's all I'm going to say, and I know many are probably going to get a little bit upset with it. I know for a fact. I already see it. I already see many complaining in the comments when next episode arrives, or the episode after that, when it's confirmed what's going on with Diane, because I personally remember complaining about it as well, and I'm not going to deny I was a little bit upset about it. I was a little bit angry. Yeah, I was. I'm not going to lie. I was angry. So, besides that, let's talk about a scene that kind of irked me a little bit. The Ten Commandments scene with Elizabeth. When we saw Esther Rosa, you know, the person that has, like, the, similar style of look of Mellie Otis in this episode, well, that entire scene was very awkward. I'm just going to say, that dream sequence with Elizabeth and Esther Rosa, that was weird. That was a very awkward and weird scene, because the way Studio A1 adapted that, it didn't mesh as well as it did in the manga. And most likely for censorship reasons, because basically in the manga, from what I remember, this could be potential spoilers, because I could be misremembering events, so if you don't want to hear what I'm going to say, I recommend you to mute the video and all that. And I'll give you like this when you're okay, and you can, you know, unmute the video. But, in the manga, I remember that Elizabeth was dreaming about Esther Rosa, looking like it was Mellie Otis at first, and then found out it was, you know, Esther Rosa, and then when she awakes, we see Esther Rosa blow up a bird and all that. A bird, like, explodes, and it felt like the way that was done in the anime, they didn't properly clarify that it was kind of like Esther Rosa inside of her dream. It's like they didn't clarify it at all, which is very weird. And I was like, really? It doesn't make sense, because that's what really led to a lot of debates about Esther Rosa's character when he was introduced, because he is on Mellie Otis's wanted picture. He has this same facial structure and all that design like Mellie Otis's wanted picture. So it led to many debates in the manga, like, who is this? Is this, you know, Mellie Otis actually, like, you know, why does he have Mellie Otis's, like, face and all that? Could this man, you know, be Mellie Otis's brother? Could this man, you know, be able to copy Mellie Otis's face? We do know that the Ten Commandments are connected to Mellie Otis, because Mellie Otis knows about them, and also Zeldris mentioned him in this episode. So we know they're connected, but when you see the face and all that of Esther Rosa and all that, and you see the wanted picture, and when you see how he was talking to Elizabeth, or he was looking at Elizabeth in the dream, you're like, something's going on here. There's obviously a very deep connection, and the anime didn't really even clarify that at all, and I'm like, that's just weird. It felt weird to me, and I don't know, just, it felt like A1 didn't really handle that scene properly. Now, here we go. I'm giving the A-OK, so you can unmute the video now, because I know that many of you probably don't want to hear spoilers, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting. But, anyways, back into it, though. Besides the dream sequence and all of that, I do think that the pacing of this episode was a lot better than the previous episode. Just the only wonky scenes would be the dream sequence and the Gowther and Diane fight. Besides that, I think it was a perfectly paced episode. It had some good art and animation overall, and I do especially love the Albion scene when it comes in and you see to where Merlin teleports the 7 deadly sins to Camelot to defend it. That was really cool. And can I take a moment to talk about the pig, you know, Mama Pig and all that, just flying around in the air, not giving a crap at all? That was hilarious, okay? And that was hilarious. I mean, I remember in the manga when I read that, I was laughing just because of how the pig was just flying through the air. But when you actually see it animated and you see Mama Pig just flying around Albion and all that, I'm like, this is just funny, because the pig looks like she doesn't even care. She's like, I'm flying! I'm like, really? Like, really? It's funny. I know, I can't help it, but I thought that scene was very funny, how she was just flying around Albion and all that, and you just see how everybody's just, you know, trying to take down the Albion, and you see Mellie Otis jump on it, start fighting back. I just thought it was very cool. It was just a highlight to this episode, personally, to me. Now, speaking of Camelot and Arthur, though, as we remember, Arthur has a lot of potential. It was stated by Hindi in the last season, Arthur has a lot of potential, and it does seem, because of the way things are being set right now, Arthur is going to be very vital to the future of the series, because now you have to where Merlin and Mellie Otis and all of them are there, trying to save Camelot, and at the same time, if we move over to another scene, once Albion is defeated, we move over into King, and what's going on in the Fairy Forest. So, yeah. King. is about to have to fight up against another Albion. Now, we already know an Albion was already very strong. We saw it had like over a 5,000 power level, and Meliodas was able to handle it thanks to him having his sacred treasure. Now, we do know that King already has the sacred treasure. It's already been stated in the first season, so we know that he has full access to his potential, unless he decides to get another power-up. But for now, though, he has access to his sacred treasure, so we're gonna have to see exactly how strong this Albion is, and if King can actually take it down or not. We also have to factor in that, remember, a red demon from, the first season, when we found out what happened to the fairy forest, the red demon was able to annihilate the forest, okay? It did a lot of damage. So imagine what Albion could possibly do to the forest, okay? And it's obviously a lot stronger than the red demon. Think about it like that. So, it's probably going to get hectic, and it seems like Bon is a little bit tied up at the moment when it comes to whatever he's dealing with. And also, speaking of Bon, the blood. Yeah. Bon has been coming back to the fairy forest every so often, using his blood to grow the fairy forest, speed up the process. Because if you remember, Bon technically drunk the Fountain of Youth. And since he drunk the Fountain of Youth, that means that he is the Fountain of Youth. So his blood necessarily would have probably properties of the Fountain of Youth. Now, take that however you will. I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm not going to dive into it because spoiler reasons, but it's very apparent from this episode that Bon's blood is very special. And it obviously can be used to grow the forest back to what it once was and speed up the growth quite a bit. And we see that. So, yeah. But that's about it when it comes to this week's episode of Taizai. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? And also, I cannot wait to see my boy, the sun god himself. Sun boy. Praise the sun. I need him. I need him so bad. I need him. But I'm going to end it there. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Have a wonderful day or night. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. Leave a like if you like the video. Chibi out.